Hi and welcome to my presentation. My name is Joshua Linton and today I'm going to be talking about deficits in working memory and the implications they have on students with ADHD, Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. First of all, we're going to talk about working memory. And working memory is the individual's capacity to store and mentally manipulate information over short periods of time. In regards to students, their working memory is often referred to as the mental workplace, and this is used to store important information and retrieve academic skills such as mathematical problem solving, reading and language comprehension, and written expression. With the working memory, students who have deficiencies, it can tend to lead to failure in simple tasks such as remembering instructions and the storage and processing of information during difficult tasks. Research has shown that deficits in working memory are associated with low learning outcomes and normally end up in educational underachievement. Students with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder have the potential for academic failure, and the worse their severity, the greater the chances that it will increase. The underlying theory that guides working memory is Baddeley's theoretical model of working memory, which states that the working memory is a limited capacity system made up of three key areas, which include the central executive, which primarily focuses on attention and dividing attention among concurrent tasks and providing an interface between the working memory and long-term memory. The second is the phonological loop, and that is used as a temporary storage and rehearsal for verbal information. And the last is the visual spatial sketchpad, which is the temporary storage and rehearsal of visuospatial information. Students with ADHD are more likely to have impairments in all three of the components of working memory, and research has shown the greatest impairment is found in the central executive system, followed by visuospatial and the phonological loop. Working memory deficits are in fact core features of ADHD, and research has shown that they can account for the inattentive and hyperactive behavioural symptoms. Now, with the working memory difficulties of students, particularly those with ADHD, there comes implications for instruction, and studies have shown that there is a strong connection between working memory and the student's academic achievement, particularly in literacy and numeracy. So teachers need to adjust their instructional practices to prevent working memory overload when designing tasks. Complex tasks can be particularly challenging for students with ADHD due to the increasing demand on their working memory. So continuing with implications for instruction, teachers need to consider adjusting instructional context, providing external supports, and teaching strategies that will promote positive behavioural outcomes. They also need to include interventions that are going to help improve self-regulation and academic skills. And finally, providing the student with the necessary tools to persevere through difficult times can increase the chance of reducing behavioural issues. Now, during my research, I came across an abundance of teaching strategies. A few of them are really geared at students with severe memory deficits and those with ADHD or autism, but the list also has strategies for those who do have slight impairments in their working memory but are categorized or diagnosed. So the first teaching strategy is targeting accommodations and intervention strategies into everyday learning activities. Teachers need to adopt different approaches for teaching students with working memory deficits. Strategies that they use, they need to be taught explicitly, direct, and scaffolded where appropriate. Teachers need to turn complex tasks into several key steps or components. So basically they need to be broken down into each individual step, allowing the student to be able to follow each step individually rather than be overloaded with an overwhelming instruction and get lost in the middle. Need to provide students with learning strategies that assign how to approach complex academic tasks more systematically. Provide students with a variety of external memory aids, cue cards, graphic organizers. Provide students with multiple opportunities to practice memorizing the steps of strategy. So in particular, in primary school, when it comes to following tasks between moving from one class to another or from one subject to another, that they have the opportunity to practice and get those understood. Provide students with instructional supports to develop their understanding of textual features and key ideas of the text. Continue providing students with various opportunities for guided practice in using comprehension and instructional supports. Provide students with comprehension monitoring strategies to assist in comprehending both oral and in text. Continue providing students with explicit organizational strategies to help integrate that. Use of a checklist is a good one to help monitor their progression through different tasks. Provide students with instructions on how to make realistic and attainable academic goals. Prompt students at each stage of the task to provide them with a structured framework to ensure they are understanding the instructions given. Ensure that activities are kept short-lived, or for larger projects, structure the task into smaller and more manageable learning blocks. Ensure that students have a concrete understanding of the activity by providing a clear beginning and end, and to include approximate times and expectations for completion. So a good example of that is providing students with a clear and explainable rubric so that they know exactly what's expected and what is expected for each section. And yes, developing and maintaining a reliable daily classroom routine seems pretty self-explanatory, but is found to be quite significant for students who have difficulty with memory deficits. Encourage students to seek assistance when unsure of the steps to take. Obtaining the students' attention by addressing them with their name and by making eye contact. And keeping instructions brief and to the point, or alternatively break the instructions down step by step and provide the students with visual cues or even a written copy. Emphasize instructions by providing students with either a set of written cues, the copy of the instructions, or the checklist written on the board. Minimize potential distractions for students with memory deficits by having them sit in the front of the classroom, away from windows, doors, and ensure that their desk is free of clutter. And I suppose one of the big ones as well is to plan all important and challenging activities and lessons for the earlier parts of the day when students are technically more engaged and should be more focused. Ask students to say back instructions to summarize key elements of the lesson. Provide students with direct prompts and signals to get back on task. And use verbal and non-verbal cues to obtain the students' focus and to ensure they are paying attention. Well, that is everything I have. I'm about to run out of my 10 minutes. So thank you for listening, and I do apologize if the quality is slightly poor. I am having to wing it with old school technology. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation.